We want to take this moment to formally and officially welcome you back to this podcast.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi there. If you're listening, it's good to hear. Nope, that's not it. We're not going to hear you. It's good for you to hear us. Congratulations. Today you'll hear our voices.
I'm sure if you're in the room with somebody, they're thinking it's good to hear you right now, but
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was looking at our metrics and like people who actually listen. And I was like, I can't believe that many people want to listen to us talk. That's surprising. So thank you for being here. We like that you're like, sometimes I'm talking in a room and I'm like, I don't even want to hear what I have to say.
See, no, this is a good thing because our wives are like, yes, they are talking about the Bible and we don't have to listen right now.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Sometimes when we say that, it makes it sound like our wives don't care about the Bible. That is not what we're talking about.
They do
They
care.
don't care about listening to us talk about minutia in the Bible.
For hours on end.
For hours on end.
Yeah.
They're like, aren't you guys pretty much saying the same thing? I was like, no, it's very different in the minutia.
And I'm right, Ben's wrong.
And they're like, all right, well, we'll be back in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, are you on the same Yes, we are. Yes, we're in the exact same spot. So I actually want to point out to everybody on my chest here, it says, "Hi, hungry, I'm Dad." This is a shirt that I got for my birthday because I believe that one of the best things about having children is that you get to tell dad jokes. And now I actually have justification for the jokes I already told before I had kids.
Every time I say that joke to my daughter, she's like, Dad, stop.
So
And I'm like, no.
So I'm wearing this the other day. So this is like the second time I've worn this shirt, but I'm wearing it the other day. And James comes home from school and he goes, "I'm hungry." And I was like, "Wait." And I took off my overshirt and I was like, "Hi, hungry, I'm Dad." He's like, "I don't like that." And I was like, "Doesn't matter. I love it." So it was great. All right, Life of Jesus.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep going. We just posted this last week. We were talking about this conversation. Jesus coming out of the Seder, having this conversation. I'm going to go. I'm going to send the advocate. By the way, you need to abide with me. I'm the vine. You're the branches. The evidence that you actually are my disciples is how you're going to love each other if you love each other the way that I have loved you.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, love isn't defined as just some squishy feeling or by your own definitions. You actually have to look, what did Jesus do? How did Jesus love people? And he didn't start by flipping tables, right? No matter how much you want to flip those tables, that is not the first thing he did. And so then coming out of that, Jesus has then prayed that God's going to glorify him, prays for his disciples because they're about to have a very bad time. And then he prays for the people yet to come. And that's where we're going to pick up. And he's then asked his disciples to go and pray with him in the garden. And then we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about Judas coming and betraying him up to the point then where next week we're going to start talking about the crucifixion, the trial and crucifixion. Yeah. So that's where we are. We're going to jump around a little bit today. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 26, starting in verse 36. It says, "Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.' He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him," that's James and John, "and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, 'My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me.' Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, 'My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will.' Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. 'Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?' He asked Peter, 'Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.' He went away a second time and prayed, 'My Father, if it is possible for this cup to be taken away, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done.' When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, 'Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come. The Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise up, let us go. Here comes my betrayer.'" Okay, we'll get to the next part in a minute. I think one of the things first to note here, I also have been tired and wanted to take a nap during a long prayer session. And so, like, I'm listening to the disciples here. And I'm like, I want to be fair to them because I think like they recognize something significant is going on, but they don't really realize what's about to happen, right?
Yeah.
They don't plan. I mean, can you really think that on Passover night, you're going out to the garden, you're praying, you're having these conversations with your rabbi, that suddenly soldiers are going to show up and get you,
Yeah.
and take away your rabbi to go and be executed.
Yeah.
Like, that's not exactly what you think is going to happen that night. So you're like, okay, Jesus is serious, but also I haven't slept in like 20 hours, right? Maybe that's exaggeration, but I haven't slept in a really long time, and I am tired.
Well, yeah, and I've been at prayer meetings where, like, literally people are like, okay, I'm going to go bow down in the front of the church and pray. And I remember one time as a friend of mine, he's bowing down in the front of the church and praying. I was like, man, he's been up there a long time. And I went to, like, go check on him. And I get up there and his hands are down. His face is on the stage. His hands are down and he's like,
You're perfect.
and I was like, oh, all right.
I see. I see what happened.
I see what happened. I can totally relate to the disciples in this.
So this is a word of encouragement for the people who fall asleep when you pray. The disciples who spent 3.5 years with Jesus also fell asleep when he prayed.
Yeah.
And when they prayed.
Yeah.
It does happen sometimes. And I was like, and notice he doesn't really chastise them. He's like, hey guys, couldn't you stay awake with me? Don't you get what's about to happen? But they fell asleep still.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I did hear this statement from a pastor, which I really enjoy, and he said people will come up to him and they'll say, I always feel bad because when I pray, I fall asleep. He's like, you know why? That's not ideal, right? That's one of the reasons, like, if he's going to pray for a long time, he stands up and walks as he prays, right? So that he doesn't fall asleep. He said, but also, I'm just going to be really honest with you. If you believe God is your father, I can't remember the last time my kids were laying in my lap talking and fell asleep and I was mad.
Yeah.
There are definitely worse things in life than to fall asleep while talking to your father.
Yeah.
Right? And I said that, and anybody who's listening that's a parent is like, oh, yeah, that's not a big deal. You know? And same guy who said, by the way, they were talking about Bible reading. They're like, I just can't remember what I read. He's like, I don't remember what I ate for food last week.
Yeah.
Still nourished me. It's part of just like consuming and staying awake, alive.
Yeah.
But Jesus goes, and like, I think the thing that about this text is highlighted is there's a humanity and a divine nature both being revealed in Jesus right now, like the divine and the human. The one thing is he knows what's coming, and he's like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah. Huge.
This is gonna be terrible. Like, I mean, I've had projects where I know that we have to do X, Y, or Z, and I know when we get to a certain part, it's going to be rough. Nothing like this, right? Nothing like this, where where you're going to have to push through, like, because you're like, oh, it's going to be uncomfortable. Well, actually, a good example is I'm actually getting ready to move from house to house, right? Getting in the new house is going to be great. You know what isn't great? Moving everything from the first house to the second house. Like, that's not a fun thing. Yes, and it's so people are listening. Yes, I did just compare moving houses to Jesus about to be beaten and crucified.
Such a first world problem.
Right? But like the thing is, like, I can feel like nervous about what's coming up. Jesus knows what's going to happen. Not only like and sometimes we're like, okay, the physical. I was like, he's about to be ridiculed by the leadership of the entire nation. He's going to be pranced out in front of people and made to look like a fool.
Yeah.
For doing nothing wrong. He's going to be part of a legal trial, which we'll talk about next week, that is rigged from the start and is not about the justice of the Jewish system.
Yeah.
Like, he has a lot of anguish, and he looks at the situation. He's like, if we can let this go past, I would love for that to be the case.
Yeah.
I want to hone in on something Jesus says the second time, which I think is very significant, though, because this is part of the attitude of the person. Like, I think when we step into suffering on behalf of other people or on behalf of Christ, like, this is the kind of thing that where we can gather strength. When he prays the second time, he says this, my Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. So the first one is, if it's can we take away this cup? Right? Yeah. This cup that I have to drink. This cup of God's holy suffering, which, by the way, is mentioned in the Old Testament. Yeah. And it is going to be drunk by God, where it said that he's going to drink this cup on behalf of the suffering of the people. But Jesus says, if it's possible that I don't have to do this
Yeah.
for your will to be accomplished, let's take it away.
Mm-hmm.
But if the only way for what you need to have done is for this to be done,
Mm-hmm.
I gladly step in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I step in.
Yeah.
I mean, gladly, joyfully, but not gladly, maybe.
Yeah.
You know? All right. So referenced in the book of Isaiah, this cup that they're talking about. I mean, there's other places the cup is referenced, but I want to pull this from Isaiah because there's a lot of Isaiah 50 through 55 happening in this section of the Bible, right? Starting in verse 17 of chapter 51, it says, "Awake, awake, rise up, Jerusalem, you who have drunk from the hand of the Lord the cup of his wrath." Okay. Mm-hmm. Jerusalem, you've woken up and you're actually drinking from the cup of God's wrath, right? You who have drained it to its dregs, the goblet that makes people stagger. Among all the children she bore, there was none to guide her. Among all the children she reared, there was none to take her by the hand. These double calamities have come upon you. Who can comfort you? Ruin and destruction, famine and sword. Who can console you? Your children have fainted. They lie at every street corner, like antelope caught in the net. They are filled with the wrath of the Lord, with the rebuke of the Lord. Therefore hear this, you afflicted one, made drunk but not with wine. This is what your sovereign Lord says, your God, who defends his people. See, I have taken out of your hand the cup that made you stagger. From that cup, the goblet of my wrath, you will never drink again. Mm-hmm. I will put it into the hands of your tormentors who said to you, fall prostrate that we may walk on you. And you made your back like the ground, like a street to be walked on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Isaiah saying, because up to this point, like, you have been drinking from his wrath. Mm-hmm. You have been bringing the wrath of God on yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is tying back to this idea of you're not actually living into what Torah calls you to be, to love God and love your neighbor as yourself, to actually put this on display. It's being about all nations, and it's about justice and mercy, and yes, sure, tithing, right? But don't neglect the later without doing the former, right? And Jesus continues this cup imagery, and he says that cup that you have been drinking, you don't get it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to drink every last drop. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be yours anymore.
Yeah.
You may have wrath come on you, but it will not be the wrath of God. Mm-hmm. You may have pain come on you, but it will not be pain from God. Mm-hmm. You may have brokenness come upon you, but it's no longer be brokenness of God if you trust me. Mm-hmm. It's a good story.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the reasons why we have to be really careful. There's a statement that people will make about the wrath of God being poured out on Jesus, right? Jesus drinks the cup of God's holy wrath. Mm-hmm. That's what the Bible says. Mm-hmm. It's a difference between a vengeful God and a God full of love, mm-hmm. who takes what was for somebody else and drinks it for himself. Yeah. And in the middle of this, Jesus knows exactly what kind of wrath people have stirred up in the world. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm going to have to take that on myself.
Yeah.
And it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough. I am not feeling great about this. So, Father, if we can let this pass, I would love that. Uh-huh. But if there's no way for this to be accomplished without me taking on the cup of your wrath, I gladly drink it.
Yeah. And there's people who've made the argument of like, well, if God's all powerful, like, then why couldn't he just find another way? Right. And the reality is God created things to work in a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. There were systems that were created for atonement, mm-hmm. right, for restoration. And those systems usually required some form of sacrifice. Right. Some form of you saying, okay, I'm going to give up something so that I can be made right with God. Right.
Or drawn near. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Or drawn near, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's actually a concept that we can still take into play today, where like maybe there's something that's holding you away from God, and you're like, hey, I need to give that up so I can draw near to him. Right. It's still a concept we play out in families, for example. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a parent in the family who's addicted to alcohol, right? Or some other type of substance, and it's ruining their family.
Yeah.
And if they could only give that up, they could draw closer to their family.
Yeah.
Right. It's not we treat it as this very foreign concept. And here you have, and in this moment you have Jesus saying, okay, you basically have Jesus saying this is going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult. And he's saying, but I am going to take on the worst of the worst for everyone around me.
Well, and this is, by the way, not a new thing with God.
No.
I mean, you think back to the story of the blood covenant with Abraham and God, like the blood path covenant, right? You think about even going back to the flood where God puts his bow in the sky, so he has to remember, right? The more powerful is remembering, right?
Yeah.
God is frequently taking on both sides of the covenant. Even in the sacrificial system, where because we're like, the sacrificial system is brutal. If you've read in Leviticus when we talked about it, the sacrificial system is all about how to draw near to God, and restoration of relationship.
Yeah.
And then Jesus comes and he's breathing and walking in this system, and he's Torah on display, and his blood is what's going to draw us back to the Father's side. And so like you were talking about the person who says, well, if God is all powerful, why couldn't he do it a different way? He's already telling them a story, and so he's going to do it in a way that's going to make sense in the story that they're doing, right? And so God is bringing his children back. He's providing a bridge that they can walk across when you trust in the faithfulness of Jesus Christ, and then go and find yourself restored unto God.
Yeah.
Right? And when that happens, you're going to instantly be different, but also you're going to have the deposit of the Holy Spirit, which is going to change who you are.
Yeah.
But you got to go and drink the cup first.
Yep.
Well, rather, Jesus has to go and drink the cup first.
Yeah.
And I would argue, I might make a suggestion that sometimes what we do as Christians is we go and drink a cup on somebody else's behalf so that they can be restored to God.
Yep.
Now, don't get caught up in literal cups. Don't get caught up in the cup of God's holy wrath, because I'm using an analogy to talk about how we suffer so that other people can find Christ.
Yeah.
That we willingly step into the fray. We willingly take the hit to protect somebody else, or to give them the opportunity to see Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, the disciples are taking naps because they're tired. Oh, poor baby. No, I'm just kidding. And I do love, by the way, that, I'm still in Isaiah. Hold on. I got to get back to Matthew. I do like that the first time he comes back to his disciples and he's talked to James and John and Peter. By the way, Peter's the only one named here that says the two sons of Zebedee, but we know who they are. He comes back, and the third, was it the second time? He goes to Peter and he says, couldn't you keep watch with me for 1 hour? 1 hour, dude. Right? By the way, Peter has just said, I will never deny you. Right? And I don't want to throw Peter under the bus, because I 100% believe that would be me. I'd be tired. I was like, I love Jesus, but I also love the inside of my eyelids. You know? So then he says, all right, guys, I'm here. You're still sleeping and resting, but the hour has come. The Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. And while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him a large crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Okay, pause. These are not Roman soldiers, because they're sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. So these are temple soldiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably temple soldiers and just a mix of civilian.
Right.
Yeah.
So now the betrayer had arranged for them a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him. By the way, it's crazy to me that they don't know who Jesus is at this point. Yeah. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. Jesus replied, do what you came for, friend. Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for the sword. We know who it was. Drew it out and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Put your sword back in its place, Jesus said to him, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put all I can read. At once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels. But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way? In that hour, Jesus said to the crowd, am I leading a rebellion that you've come to me with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has taken place that all the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled. And then the disciples deserted and fled. All right, I want to jump one other place here because talking about the fact that these are temple guards, John adds a little bit more to this story. Now remember that James and John and Peter are specifically with Jesus the entire time. All the disciples are probably there, but they're closest. So they're going to have probably the clearest recollection of what happened. So if you start in chapter 18, verse 2 of John, it says, now Judas, who betrayed him, knew the place because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. Okay, that's a nice tidbit to know. So Judas came to the garden, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. Jesus, knowing all what happened, went out and asked them, "Who is it you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said. And Judas the traitor was standing there with them. When Jesus said, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. Okay. Why did they fall to the ground? This is very important for people who talk about Jesus never claiming to be God.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they falling to the ground when he says, "I am he"? These are temple guards.
Mm-hmm.
And what name did he just say?
I am.
I am. Right? This is a really big deal. Like they know exactly what name. And apparently he says it with enough authority that they're like, whoa.
Uh-huh.
Right? So he asks them again. He says, "I am he." They drew back. And he asked them, "Who is it that you want?" "Jesus of Nazareth," they said. And Jesus answered, "I told you that I am he. If you are looking for me, then let these men go. This happens that the words he had spoken would be fulfilled. I have not lost one that you gave me." Then Simon Peter, sorry to throw you under the bus, dude, who had the sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus.
Side note, have you ever just wondered what beef was between John and Peter? Just because like all the other gospels are like, oh, and then a disciple did this, and John will even do that. I'll be like, oh, and then a disciple did this, and I'll be like, and then I'm faster than Peter, and oh yeah, Peter cut off that guy's ear.
Yeah,
that's a very side note.
No, first of all, it's really funny.
Yeah.
Like there's been some hilarious memes about it, but there is actually conversation that, so Matthew being the most Jewish of the Gospels, Matthew goes out of his way to repeatedly remind them that Peter is still with them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is that important? Because Peter is about to deny his rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
And this is gonna be really hard for some people to hear because they're not going to understand this. In the Jewish mind, Peter is more at fault than Judas, because Judas, yes, betrays Jesus, but Peter denies him.
Mm-hmm.
Judas actually doesn't deny Jesus; he betrays him.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're going to hear that and you're going to be like, whoa, wait. I was like, denying, like you ever knew the person, that you ever followed them, that you were ever a part of them, it is significantly worse in this culture, in this kind of upbringing. And so in the book of Matthew, where it tends to say like, a disciple, I feel like he's kind of softening it a little bit. Because you'll actually notice in the book of, I think it's in Matthew, but as they're going after the denial, they'll say the disciples and Peter. The disciples and Peter. And he's reminding the Jewish readers because they would not have seen Peter as a disciple once he denied.
Yeah.
I also think that's really important why, even though John seems to throw him under the bus, there is actually this passage where Jesus comes back and restores Peter, because there was questions in the Jewish church about the validity of Peter's leadership.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I was there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, Peter's not a strong runner. He chops people's ears off, right? But Jesus absolutely restored him.
Yeah.
Like he's our bro, right? Like, so I love. So they come here and they're like, who? He's like, who are you looking for? And they're like, well, we're looking for Jesus. Yeah, that's me, right? I am he. And they fall to the ground. He's like, okay, seriously, who are you looking for?
Stand up.
Yep, stand up. Let's try it again. And one of my favorite things, he's like, why are you coming at night with clubs and swords? Like, he knows why they're coming, but why are you coming at night? I went to your house where you had authority, and I was there teaching every day, and you did nothing. Because while Jesus is on trial, so were they.
Yeah, he was like, you know where to find me.
Yeah.
Right?
One of the things that's apparent to me, the more you actually read this, is the whole time Jesus is on trial, he's not the only one. Pontius Pilate is on trial, Caiaphas is on trial, and the Pharisees are on trial, and the Sanhedrin is on trial. And really, all of humanity is on trial. And Jesus still willingly steps to the cross and drinks the cup to its dregs. Right? All this while they're trying to accuse him, he's still the one who's actually going to go and step in for all these people. And the hypocrisy, the injustice, the brokenness of the system, the brokenness of what we have called the Jewish mafia at times.
Yeah.
Right? The brokenness of all of that is going to be put on display. And even in the middle of that, Jesus is still going to stand pat, and he's going to love people around him.
Yeah.
even to the point where, and we're going to talk about this in a couple of weeks, but even to the point where when he's on the cross and he sees his mother, he says, "Hey, John, I need you to take care of her."
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's Ben's paraphrase, but
Yeah.
I need you to take care of her because she's got no one else to take care of her.
Yeah.
Like, these are, the next few episodes are going to be difficult because we're going to talk about the fact that Jesus came to save us, and humanity decided that the best thing to do was to tear him apart.
Yeah.
And we got to sit with that because as much as we want to be like, oh, they did this, we would too. We would be in the exact same spot.
Yeah. And as you read through the story, Jesus sat with it too. Right.
Yeah.
Like they came with false accusations, all sorts of stuff. And could Jesus have talked his way out of this? Probably.
Yeah.
Right. But he didn't.
He also didn't need the sword. Like I love it in the book of Luke. He's like, we're going to go, and they're like, well, we need a sword. Here, I've got, and they're like, well, we've got two, and he's like, yeah, that's enough. Right? I think here I'm actually going to read the passage because it's really it cracks me up every time I read it. He tells Simon, he says, Simon, Satan has asked to sift you as wheat in chapter 22. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Strengthen your brothers. And Jesus answered, I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times that you know me. And Jesus said, when I sent you without purse, baggage, or sandal, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered. He said, but now I have, if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yet what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment. The disciples said, see, Lord, here are 2 swords. Okay, you guys aren't hearing what I'm talking about, right? And he goes, that's enough, he replied. By the way, it actually says that's enough with an exclamation point. That's enough, right? Then he went out to, as usual, to the Mount of Olives. So this thing, like he's trying to have this conversation with the disciples, and they're like, "Well, we got swords. I heard you say sword. You said sell your bag, get a sword. I got 2 swords. We're good to go." And then they this whole thing comes and like this servant steps forward and Peter cuts his ear off, and Jesus is like, "No, no. Do you not think that I couldn't command legions of angels to come to my aid?" That's not what we're doing, Peter. And I just think it's coming back to last week when we were talking about how did Jesus love people in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're stepping out into the most fundamental part of your mission, and it's about nonviolence, right?
Yeah.
And about standing pat in the face of injustice, and then somebody like throws a canister of tear gas at the people that you're standing across from, and you're like, no, come on, guys, or whatever, and yet Jesus is going to make that person the rock of his church. The one who didn't quite understand the mission and stepped out and struck off the guy's ear so that he had to heal it right in the middle of being arrested. That guy is going to be the rock. That guy is going to be the rock.
Yep.
James and John, those 2 guys that wanted to call down fire to burn down the village of Samaria, they're going to be pivotal, right? Like Jesus just does ministry so differently than we do, and I just there. And also these guys, they have like these big dramatic gestures, but when they see the revealed Christ. When they're filled with the Holy Spirit, something changes in them and they're drastically different people.
Yeah.
That's not to say they never screw up again.
No, they do.
Right?
They do.
But something changes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. I love just talking about Jesus and his group of the disciples because it is the most odd compilation of people that you could bring together.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have tax collectors. Nobody liked tax collectors. Jews didn't even consider them Jewish.
I mean, to be fair, people still don't like tax collectors.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Then you had zealots who were like, we're going to kill all the tax collectors.
And the Romans.
Yeah. Right. And then you had fishermen, and they're like, okay, well, these are the guys who couldn't cut it in school, so they're back at their family business. And the list goes on, right? And so you have this group of people where it's like, okay, they're collectively together, they're not going to accomplish anything. Then Jesus is like, watch me.
Yeah.
Like, and
like, to be fair, in this scene, they didn't accomplish anything.
No.
They were supposed to go and just watch with him, and they couldn't stay awake. And then all they were supposed to do is just stand behind him, and then they cut off someone's ear.
Yep.
Right. Now he's going to get arrested. They're going to go running off. I think there's like one of the accounts says that somebody gets their cloak stolen, so they run off naked. Like, so clearly, like, they're booking it. But it is a odd amalgamation of people. It's almost like Jesus works with all sorts of different people, and he brings out the best in them. And about working together despite our differences is so important, which touches on our last episode. Yeah. And one of the things we talked about in a previous episode, but I want to point out here one more time. Two people are going to have extreme regret over what happens here. Peter for denying Jesus, and probably for chopping the guy's ear off.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to have regret, and then Judas for betraying Jesus. The difference between them is when they have realization about their sin. One of them goes to Jesus.
Yep.
And one takes care of himself. Both of them could have had redemption.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you think that the sin of betraying the Son of God to the chief priest is too big of a sin for God to forgive.
No, he's got it.
He's got it. Like, he already knew he was going to do it. The difference between Judas and Peter is one comes back and one doesn't. It's why that word repent, shuvah, return to who you're supposed to be, matters.
Yeah.
You're going to fail. Sometimes you will be with Jesus in a garden and you'll chop someone's ear off.
Yeah.
He can put it back on. Sometimes people are going to ask you if you belong to Jesus, and you're going to deny him. He'll meet you by a fire later and restore you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to be called to be like Jesus and go take a cup that nobody wants to drink so that somebody else can have life.
Yes.
And I think all of those things, like, obviously you could carry any of those analogies too far. Like, hear the intent, not necessarily the ending. Here the intent is that following after Jesus and being like Jesus means sometimes stepping into situations that are not going to be good, that are going to hurt for the sake of what we know is on the other side.
Yeah.
That's part of being human. That's part of being recognizing the image of God in us, is our willingness to deal with the gross.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's probably a good place for us to stop.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll talk about the actual trial. We're probably going to lead all the way up to the actual crucifixion, maybe get into the crucifixion. And then the following week, I wanted to take some time talking about the words of Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
And then his death and burial.
Yeah.
And then we'll be talking about the resurrection.
Yeah. So, till next time.